Hello, everyone. My name is Mette Hjort, and I'm the head of the School of Film and Media at Lincoln University in the UK. And I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you to this special panel, which is going to explore the film education work of Filmlab Palestine. Filmlab Palestine is a non-governmental organization that has grown from initial experiences using film to work with young people in refugee camps to become a significant, ambitious, and progressive film education organization, one of the few in the Arab world. Led by the organization's founder, Hanna Atallah, and incorporating a series of perspectives across the work of the organization, including film consultant Charlotte Giese and lab co-founder and content producer Alia Ryan, this panel will explore Filmlab Palestine's holistic approach to film education, both in terms of watching and making films with young people, but also advocating for and creating new forms of cinema that express Palestinian voices, experiences, and a sense of place. I'm absolutely delighted that we've all been able to come together here. People have been working together for a long time. And so there's a very strong element of friendship and solidarity underwriting this particular panel. We're going to start today with Alia Ryan, then we will go to Charlotte Giese, and finally we will hear from Hanna Atallah. In between the interventions from our panelists, we will have time for questions. Between the first two speakers, we'll just take a couple of quick questions, and then we will go to Hanna Atallah, and then we will have time for much more engagement with the audience. As far as the Q&A is concerned, please drop questions and comments into the chat function or use the Q&A function. And if you'd really like to actually address the panelists yourself, then let us know and we will make sure that you're able to do so. Otherwise, I, as chair of the panel, will probably read out your question for you. If you look at the chat function at the moment, you'll see that we have some instructions about how to access closed captions. So if that's something that you'd like to do, please just take a look at the instruction in the chat function. All right, so I'm going to introduce our first speaker now, Alia Ryan. She holds an MA degree in international politics, focusing on the Middle East, sociology, and art history from the University of Hamburg and the School of Oriental and African Studies at the University of London. Alia is an art critic, a writer, educator, and curator, and she's worked in Berlin, Beirut, New York, Amman, and Ramallah for international cultural organizations and art magazines. In 2014, she co-founded Filmlab Palestine with Hanna Atallah, where she currently holds the position of content developer. Between 2013 and 2016, she led the art organization Al-Hwash, where she introduced a new socially engaged art program with urban interventions to address the exceptional circumstances in public space for Palestinians in Jerusalem. Her experiences informed her doctoral dissertation, which is entitled Decolonizing Socially Engaged Art Practice in Non-Western Contexts. She completed the doctoral dissertation at Lubna University at the Graduate School for the Cultures of Critique in 2022. Alia, we're delighted to have you with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mette. Thank you very much for these kind words and your introduction. I'm very happy to be part of this session here and sharing a little bit how we started this whole Filmlab Palestine initiative, where we come from, giving you a bit of an insight of the background of us and of our vision before I hand over then to Charlotte and Hanna. So I will have a short PowerPoint presentation to share with you. I hope it will work out now with sharing the screen. Let me try that out. And yes, here we go. Yes, as I said, I'm very happy to be a part of this session here now, and I will use the opportunity to give you a bit of a background of Filmlab Palestine and the vision behind it. So when we start and thinking about films and education, films are, of course, we know it all, a very powerful educational tool that opens up eyes for culture, similarity and diversity, easily viewed and understandable regardless age or level of education. And we know also as well, every one of us knows that children and youth are known worldwide as a power of change. So, but in Palestine, we have a quite different situation for children and youth, which are who are very much deprived from opportunities to express themselves and to tell their story, their personal story. So that's where actually the role of Filmlab comes in. So before I go deeper, as I said, I would like to sketch a bit the influences from where our vision and strategy comes from. I'm sure most of you know, are familiar with this iconic book of John Berger. John Berger's book, Ways of Seeing, actually influences us a lot. And the whole idea of the world of images, films, and media that shapes our perceptions in the world and forms our position in it was very important for us. As we know, it is important to engage and explore with this influence. And it's therefore inevitable if one wants to be able to express him or herself, and also very important if you want to liberate yourself from just consuming images without reading their impacts. So to tackle this issue was for us of utmost importance, since we were already very much engaged with trying to understand and discuss the Palestinian image memory and the culture memory, which was for us clearly an important issue, since all of these parts of memory and culture memory, visual memory, shapes our narratives, not only the narratives as we are telling it, but also the way we are perceived by the world. So it is important to engage with it, to be able to tell the story and to tell our story. So, and now the very important cornerstone for developing our film education program was actually an experience we collected during our project in Jordan, in a refugee camp, Palestinian refugee camp, Talbiya, which is not so much well known. It's around 10 kilometers away from Amman, and since the 40s there, and we were able to work there 2011 and 12 and establish a school, a one-year educational program on film literacy and education. So we talked there with the youth and the kids about what it means to engage with images, how much images shape us, and how important it is to reflect about the messages behind the images, how important it is to get out of the stereotypes, to confront stereotypes, and to be able to establish something which is much more connected to your reality, reflecting your reality, so you can express yourself. Exactly. So these were actually the points, like the Talbiya refugee camp. Jordan was very important for us. Of course, Hannah's background as filmmaker and film producer, very important. And then me coming in as a researcher on visual memory and culture memory. So all of this shaped us a lot when we wanted to start something. Before I come now, if I want to come back to the situation in Palestine, moving to the situation on the ground, there are a lot of different problems, things we have to mention here, and my colleagues will go more into details and unravel all the different kind of points. I just would like to mention here two major points, two major lags, which are important to know. And the first one is when we talk about the situation in Palestine, there is lack of professionals who can enrich the discussion at all when you want to talk about films, when you want get away from the whole problem of just consuming films and not reflecting about them. So this is a major point which we had to tackle. And the other lag is another very important lag. It's the lack of availability of films produced for children and youth in the Arab world in general, and particularly in Palestine. So here also what I would like to mention, there was a very important study which was initiated by Filmlab and the Department of Media and Cognition and Communication of the University of Copenhagen with Mette herself in 2017, underlining the lack of the diversity and engaging program for children in Arabic, and which was very much, or is still very much, in contrast with the fast development of technologies and communication tools, which are used all over the world, and of course as well in Palestine a lot, but without reflecting actually the impact on the children and youth, or without integrating actually the needs for children and youth to enrich and strengthen their capabilities and educational, social, or cultural levels. And on the contrary, we can say that most content, even in Arabic for children, does not provide educational value and leads more or less to alienation, and was wasting even valuable development time for children. So children receive the content and messages, they're just consuming it, without having the opportunity actually to interact. And that becomes a big risk, because at the end of the day, the content that is even perhaps sometimes threatening the children's mental growth or increase the opportunity to behavior problems. So this is actually why we started our whole initiative, where we felt like there needs to be a focus on children and youth when it comes to film education. So, as I said, what my colleagues will then discuss in details now in a bit, I just would like also to highlight a bit of challenges of the working environment, which is also important to know. When you work in Palestine, you have challenges on the ground, which are major structural, political, but also structural challenges. And there are, as I said, a number, and I would just like also to stress three major ones, which were also confirmed or underlined in the study. So there is a lack of strategizing cinema, which stands for the point that there are a number of organizations who are working actually with films, but, and this is important to know, that most of them, they are working with film as an activity. So again, going a bit into the consuming situation, instead of having the impact clear and really introduce literacy, film literacy, and the whole idea of using cinema and film, bringing the whole world of cinema also back to the children. So that doesn't exist a lot. There are only 4 organizations in general who are working on it. And Filmlab is one of these 4 organizations in Palestine, where I would say also that Filmlab is the only one which has a strong curriculum exactly developed for this kind of aim. So the second challenge, it's not a challenge just for us, it's for everyone a challenge. It's a challenge for our society. It's the challenge of segregation. The fragmentation of society is an ongoing issue for us. That means whatever we want to do is an issue of mobility. There's an issue of coming together, and there's an issue that you always have to expect the impossible, the change, the sudden change. You don't know really what happens next week or even next day, because the ways can be interrupted. You know, it's not possible to bring in children to actually a screening, etc., etc. So you are always in an emergency status of being able to arrange around it. That's a major challenge. The last challenge is more on a governmental level, I would say, which is also a very important challenge for us, since it affects ministries and the other institutions, because film literacy isn't really integrated in strategies, isn't integrated in the annual activity plans, meaning it's not giving that weight. So you are a bit also working on an awareness level when it comes to trying to change policies. So you have really three major parts here which define our work, or challenge our work. Nevertheless, we managed to create a pilot project, and it was with this pilot project, it was very important to pick up the rights for children to express themselves and to bring in their perspective. So it is not only to work for children, but to let them be part of it. And that's also a very important point. So to bring them up on a eye-to-eye level, instead of just entertaining them or giving them some educational tools, but really also taking their perspectives and needs important. So these ideas were the ideas which were there from the beginning of the establishment of Filmlab. Filmlab was established, as Mette already said, 2014, as a platform for professional filmmakers to create a hub, to create a possibility to meet and to increase also here professional education, but as well, and that's what I tried here to explain very clearly, also a strong focus on film literacy for children. And when it comes now to our film education program, as I said, we had a pilot program in the beginning, and this pilot program already was framed very much by the whole idea, or influenced by the whole idea of decoloniality as well, or as Frantz Fanon said, that we should not just to copy paste ideas from Europe, but be really strongly in a conversation and try to adjust the program on the ground, to the ground. And so that's actually where we invited now experts from other countries to come to us. And the most important one is for us, the Danish Institute. And that's where actually Charlotte came into the discussion, where we were practically implementing the idea of coming into conversation, sharing her expertise in film education, film literacy, with our experiences on the ground and our backgrounds. And since then, it is an ongoing development, I would say, and we are both very clearly informed of the need of an ongoing learning situation. There was already the great result of formulating the curriculum, and it's in a major step, it's a major column of the work as it builds the base. And from that curriculum on, which is implemented since 2017 at Filmlab, with the program Next Generation, which is now the new name for our youth and children program at Filmlab. But it is clearly, as I just explained, an ongoing learning circle, changing, adapting, understanding what is needed again on the ground, because it is a new endeavor, and it's a project which will develop, which have an ongoing development. So that's point here. I would like to invite actually Charlotte Giese to start a conversation, perhaps first with me, and then we can continue from this part on.
So perhaps, thank you so much, Alia. That was wonderful. Maybe I just quickly introduce Charlotte before we bring Charlotte in. So let me just do that. So Charlotte Giese has served as commissioning editor at the Danish Film Institute, where she subsequently co-founded the Children and Youth Department. Charlotte works as special advisor in the Department of Children and Youth, which operates a nationwide program through cinemas, streaming platforms, and creative hands-on film studios, as well as European programs. Charlotte also works as a consultant for film organizations in Africa and the Middle East around strategies, talent development, and programs for the film industry and the community. The programs approach film as an art form in its own right and as a powerful tool for economic growth, cultural development, and social change. Charlotte, would you like to start the conversation before we go to you?
Thank you very much, Mette. I would. Alia, it was great to hear you talk because you bring in all your expertise and your knowledge and all the powerful role of visual arts and images. So thank you for opening on that note and giving this very clear frame from the ground, from the location. And I just have a question to start with, and I will come back to share a little bit more about the history of how we build it step by step and so on. But I'm sure many people in this online room today, they are very involved in film education in different corners of especially Europe, maybe also beyond. But could you say a little more about the connection to the formal school system? Because I know we talked with Mette earlier, also with Hanna many times about, because now you're starting a new organization who also has to take care of a curriculum of media literacy, which maybe should also be the role of the formal school system. And that's a challenge we have all over the world, because sometimes the schools are not that interested in working with film, or they are not used to work in film the way we think it makes sense to work with film, even from a very young age, children very young age. So if you could say something about your thoughts, reflections about working with the formal school system, and if it's not you, maybe it's Hanna, but maybe if you have something to say about that, Alia, because it's a big role for a small organization to deal with. No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Right, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I would like to say one thing to this very important question, of course, as I try to phrase a bit out, to sketch out with the challenges we have to deal with. It's a major problem when you have to deal with different kind of layers of challenges. As I said, like you have structural, you have financial challenges, of course, and you have as well challenges, the original challenge, which is the content, which you want actually just to concentrate on. And the structural challenge is, as I said, also the governmental challenge, where I would also include the schools. But so when I look back, it has been quite difficult in the beginning, but I know that the development, that the discussions are there, and the discussions growing, we were growing and developing, because at the end of the day, I think it's not possible also to work without the government and the schools. I mean, you cannot, because at the end of what you're trying to achieve is a national program. You know, you are interfering on a high level of education, and you are going into you're addressing policies actually which need to be changed. and that needs to be integrated in the school system, which is a very, very, very long way. You need a long breath, but there are little steps. And one of our philosophy, and I think this is something perhaps others would share with us who are working outside, especially Europe, perhaps I would say, is that it is very important just to make little steps. It is the philosophy of the little steps. And I have to say this is our major point, how we achieved what we have achieved so far, because I remember in the beginning 2014 nobody would have thought that we would have managed to reach out to so many people and organizations and schools as we did right now in 2022. But it's a development of little steps. And these kind of little steps to unfold them and unravel them, I'm sure Hanna will do so later on.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Charlotte, I think we will go to you now, and then we will pick up some questions from the audience after your talk.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much, Mette, and also for the introduction. Thank you very much. So I want to start to say that actually I'm a very big fan of Film Education Journal, who made this conference. So I think also thank you to you for inviting us. I think you have a wonderful enthusiasm, and the level of content you always deliver is high. So what's not to like? I think I appreciate your way of thinking beyond Europe, because I'm involved in many European contexts, and thinking out of Europe is not always easy. And inviting Filmlab Palestine to talk about their story as an organization is really appreciated and very important, because I think we can all learn a lot from Filmlab Palestine. I learned a lot from working with you for 8 years now, and I owe you a lot, actually. And thank you also to the participants out there. I might know some of you. But back to the West Bank. What I would like to start to say that the reason why I'm an admirer of your achievements is because you work against an incredible lot of hard odds, which you were just framing earlier in your 3 points. That it's not an easy framework to make things go smoothly. And what you did from the beginning was you were thinking big, you had a big vision, but you started small. So you started step by step by building what is now actually one of the very few organizations in the Middle East which targets the next generations through film education and film literacy, and you use local and global content, which is also special. So you're also inviting in the world, and at the same time you develop content that's truly Palestinian. So I think this balance is very interesting, and I think many organizations could take inspiration from that. And what's important to stress for people out there in this online room is that besides film education, you also aim to develop the professional film industry in Palestine. You deal with talent development, co-productions, festivals, research. You are, in a way, I work at the Danish Film Institute part-time now, but we are a big organization with big, good government funding. But you are doing all this in a very small organization. In a way, I always called you a small film institute, because you have all these pillars and this holistic vision. Yes. So when I met you, Hanna, in 2014, we were asked by Center for Cultural Development, who supported you in the beginning, to get to use some of our experience from working in other countries, in Tanzania, Lebanon, Uganda, and so on. And during the first 4 years, we had very good support from Danish Film Institute. And since 2018, I work with you through my own private consultancy. And I think we should also say that international media support supported us well, and the Danish House in Palestine also. I mean, now I'm talking about Denmark, and I know there are a number of other organizations supporting you also. So you came to us as an experienced film director, and you already started Days of Cinema, your festival, and you had, together with Alia and your team, a very clear vision for film in your country, at industry level, community level, and also education level, and that's very special and very unique, I think. I think that was the real game changer, and why I often mention you in other contexts, because it's rare to see new organizations who want to support the professional film industry, but integrate strategies for children and youth and next generations from the very beginning. I think that's very special. To think about the importance of developing a cinema culture or a film culture, whatever you call it, for the next generation, use film in educational contexts, and thereby also strengthening key media skills, which is so important for next generations in our century. And at the same time, aiming to build audiences through film screenings and dialogues across the West Bank. And now you're even online. It's quite a lot for a small organization. I think it's very long-term and future-oriented. That's what I really like about it. And I think that's why you're still there. I know you're struggling with funds and so on, but I think this approach and mindset took you so far, and why you are a big inspiration for other organizations as well. So as you said, Alia, we invited in a lot of people, experienced people from Palestine, and talked a lot about actually asked them to help us develop the concept for Filmlab. It of course had to be needs-based, and it needed a clear vision and a clear action plan. And then after you were registered in 2014, as was mentioned already several times under Palestinian law, you had very good support from Ramallah municipality back then. That was important in the beginning. I'm not quite sure how it is today, but the municipality had a good role, and Ministry of Culture were also supporting the idea. So all of a sudden you had a registration number, you had a name on the door, you had a physical address, and you had a web address. So now you were really existing. And then it came all, of course, the big job, finding funders and finding partners and so on. And your tagline was, I didn't have a PowerPoint because now we have all the PowerPoints, but the tagline was, it's time to tell our stories. And your vision it's ambitious to have a productive, dynamic film industry in Palestine. And you also had a mission to boost film production and cinema culture. And then you had these 4 pillars. You had a space, a place to meet and be. You developed talent, you co-produced, you supported production, and then you had the cultural pillar. And that, in part of that, is film education, what we are talking mostly about today. So I want to dive a little into that. And Mette, I think I'm still good in time, right? Yes. Most of the activities, as we just talked about, are actually taking place in out-of-school settings, because that's what's possible. Some of it in school settings, but a lot of them out-of-school settings. And correct me if I'm wrong. It takes place in communities, in festivals, and through partnerships with cultural organizations across the West Bank, in Gaza, and in East Jerusalem. And we decided early on to give as many children as possible, in whatever context, the best chances to watch film through screenings, to analyze and reflect about film through critical dialogue, and then also give them a chance to create their own films. So we're actually talking about the whole package, which is ambitious, but it's right. I'm sure it's right. And you also decided to target all audiences, all ages, from preschoolers to school children and to youth groups. If we talk about watching and talking film, we work with films, as I said earlier, from all over the world. You're also very courageous in choosing different genres and topics and styles: fiction, documentary, short, and features. And it was films dealing with coming of age, films with humor, films dealing with very complex issues sometimes. So you were quite, I think you were quite, courageous in choosing films that were actually appealing to young people, but also challenging. So both. And the big, how can I say, challenge was to create safe spaces for the children to be in, because many Palestinian children are not used to ask questions. They don't question their parents or their society or their teachers. But we were trying to encourage them to ask questions and to say out in the open what they think, what their opinion was, what do they think about what they see here. And it can be quite personal and not always easy. And when we talk about understanding film and film analysis, this is the hardest part, especially if you're not in a school context. But we aimed at always having some kind of analytical elements in the activities connected to screenings. We talked about aesthetics of film, about storytelling, dramaturgy, editing, characters, titles, colors, sound, all this. And I think actually it went quite well. And then the last part, the creating film, I think that was actually the most surprising, how well that went and how easy it was to work with them making their own films. I think they were very motivated to develop their own stories, simple stories with a start, a middle, and an end, but it was their stories. They were trained to use iPads, and they were also trained to develop stories and to cooperate with each other, which is not an easy thing. And there were many stories about the conflict. It's something we often talked about. Many of their stories was touching upon the conflict or meetings with authorities, with police, and so on. But we also encouraged them to tell stories about other sides of life, about friendship and my horse, or deal with coming of age, about parents who don't understand them as young people, and so on. Like, yeah, all together everyday issues, but try to cover all aspects. The last thing I will touch upon is the training of trainers, because in order to do all this, Filmlab Palestine needed to train staff. So they called upon a lot of young filmmakers, especially, to train other children and young people. And these workshops became a key element in our year-long cooperation. You selected trainers from all over the West Bank, and the people in Gaza were trained online because they couldn't leave Gaza to take part in the workshops in Ramallah and East Jerusalem. And we brought in people with experience in how to make films with young people, and they were training these trainers. And many of these young people, they had never tried to work with film pedagogy before. And being a good filmmaker does not necessarily make you a good educator. So some of them really had to learn how to work with young people. It wasn't always that easy. But it was really interesting to see the joy and the surprise of the young people, of the trainers, when they saw the impact that it has on young people to work with film and tell their own stories through a visual medium. And as you mentioned earlier, also that that you actually had or decided to fund production of films for young children and youth because the lack of local content, Palestinian films for Palestinian children, is very obvious. And this goes for most Middle East countries. There are so few of them. So how do you engage? By only showing films from the West, from Europe? It's not enough. So it's a it's really an area for improvement and for policymakers to wake up and do something and support you in this, because it's so much easier if you have local content to mix with international content. Yeah, so as I said in the beginning, many countries in the world want to practice film education and establish a solid infrastructure. And what you did was, as I said, you learned from your failures, you started small, you kept thinking big. And this is, and you were sticking to this, which I think helped you a lot. So I can only pray to all film funds, donors, ministries, partners, decision makers to keep supporting Filmlab Palestine and the work you do for next generations, because it's about film, but it's not only about film. It's also about so much more than film. And in 5 years, they are their adults. In 10 years, they are their adults. So so you start early, and I think that's a very good choice. Enough talking. I would like to share a 2.5-minute film with you, which Filmlab, it's a short video that Filmlab produced after some of the first years of making workshops with children. And I shall now I'm challenged, I shall try to share my screen and find this film and show it to you. So let's see if I succeed. Otherwise, I think the link is in the chat. Right, Mette or Pascal? We'll see.
انبسطنا كثير واستفدنا، وتجربة جديدة كانت، يعني ما عمرنا جربنا هيك شيء، وإن شاء الله نستفيد منها بالأيام الجاية. كانت حلوة كثير التجربة، وإنه أنا بحب مهنة التصوير وبحب أصور وأخذ الكاميرا.
تعلمنا اشي جديد غريب، كيف نصور في الايباد، يعني ما خطرش ببال حدا.
كلها حلوة، حتى نسينا ضحك كله، كيفنا.
مميزة والمدربين كتير شاطرين، يعطيك العافية.
شكرا. بصراحة انبسطت أول شيء معرفتكم. كانت حلقة كتير حلوة، بالذات إنها فهمنا نحكي على الأقل إنه عندنا بالخليج مش موجودة هاي الأفكار، كانت تجربة أولى كتير حلوة وفكرة حلوة، انبسطت بانبساط الطلاب.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. Wonderful, and so nice to have the video. So let me see, do we have any questions at this point? Attendees, we've got one person, I think, with a hand up. Pascal, are you able to unmute? Yeah.
Eleni, you can talk, I think.
Okay, so our audience member who wants to ask a question should be Eleni, I think it is, right? Okay, Eleni, I think you can unmute yourself now. Are you able to unmute yourself? Eleni? Pascal, are you able to unmute on your end?
No, I can ask her to unmute, but no, I cannot forcibly unmute.
All right. So maybe while maybe you could drop in an instruction in the chat function. So maybe I'll just start with a quick question. I was thinking back to what Alia said about the different challenges, and reference was made to the ministries in Palestine. And I was just remembering when Khulud Badawi, Charlotte, and I presented the report in 2017 to the Minister of Education and Higher Education in Ramallah. He was very, very excited about what Filmlab Palestine was doing, and seemed to indicate that he would be delighted to become the advocate of Filmlab Palestine in the schools. And I just wanted to hear what happened after that. Is there more ministerial support now, or does it remain difficult? And if so, why? Alia, maybe? I think you need to unmute yourself.
I think it's time to step in for Hanna. Actually, I would like to give the word.
All right. Okay. All right. So Hanna, let's bring you in. Hanna, can you unmute?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Do you want to come in on this one?
Yeah. I think, you know, as Alia said, and as you mentioned in the research or the mapping we did in the beginning, it was really this. It's not really exist in the plan for the Ministry of Education, because for our education system is still this kind of classic in a way that most of the main classes, it should be like language, mathematics, science, etc., etc. Even sometimes they cut the art or the sports classes to put other topics, to use that time from that classes and to put it. What we did after all of these years, that we tried to convince the ministry, which unfortunately he left. And this is another problem, that sometimes when we work with ministries or even politicians, that they change quickly. So till you find a time to convince and to begin your partnership with them, then a new one come, and then you need to begin from zero. So finally, we managed to sign an agreement with the Ministry of Education that we want to train the teachers how to can open a dialogue with the kids about film, especially after we have our online platform now, so they can use it and they can open this dialogue with them. Besides that, when I'm talking more on details about the next generation program, now when we have the audiovisual center, that we invite schools as their part for their non-educational activity, as teachers to come there and to have this knowledge, how to build a story and how to tell your own stories, and etc. from that. But still, we don't have really the access to enter schools and to work with kids inside schools, or to put a film as a curriculum, part of the art curriculum. Let's put it like this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Hanna, I think we're going to move on to you. So let me introduce you. Hanna Atallah is a filmmaker, producer, and cultural art manager based between Berlin and Jerusalem. He holds a bachelor's degree in cinema studies from the High Institute of Cinema in the Egyptian Academy of Arts. His experience covers filmmaking projects, both fiction and documentary. Atallah aims to empower unheard voices throughout his professional career. With the creation of the non-profit organization Filmlab Palestine in 2014 in Ramallah, he developed a platform to activate cinema culture, to work on audience awareness, and to invest in professional knowledge exchange in Palestine. And all of this opened the door for a regional and international network for Palestinian film professionals. With the establishment of Filmlab Palestine's Next Generation program, Atallah has taken a pioneering position in film literacy education and training for children and young people in the Arab region, focusing on the children's and young people's perspectives. Atallah was also the initiator, producer, and manager of the Palestinian Memory Documentation Project in Talbieh refugee camp in Jordan. He's the founder and director of Palestine Cinema Days, one of the leading film festivals in Palestine. Hanna, over to you.
Thank you, Mette, for this introduction, and thank you that you conduct this panel. Thank you, Charlotte, for the amazing introduction about Filmlab and our collaboration, which was really great, and your touch still there in Filmlab and how we make it together. And thank you, Alia, for the introduction from all the methods that it takes us hours and hours discuss, and sometimes why we want to do this, for what, for whom. And then next day morning, we continue discussion and we continue our work because we believe what we are doing and because we are stubborn, but exactly we put it like step by step. So always was the question from our heads, from really ages, and for me as a filmmaker and producers, the question is who's producing the image? And here, as a filmmaker or producer coming from Palestine with all this conflict, and it's about a narrative and who's telling the narrative and what's the true about the narrative. So always to be free from the stereotype image and to be free from the image that it put on you on the media, and especially on the Western media. Even if we are victims or if we are heroes, it depends which media talking about you. So this really opened a lot of questions inside of me and inside of us when we discussed with Alia and other colleagues, and we begin really thinking how we want to change and what we want to do, especially when you see the images which come from big organization like United Nations, like UNRWA, like etc., and which kind of image they present about us. And from here we begin the let's say semi-film school in the Talbieh refugee camps, that to support kids and youth to tell their own stories without this images which is stereotype on them, that all their life living in miserable, they are poor, etc. Part of it, of course, because they're living in this condition, but inside this stereotype stories, there is a lot of stories that it's give you hope and even give you thoughts, energy to continue, from young people who are living in miserable situation, but how they love life and how they want to continue their life. So from here, from this question, it's come to us. And another question always where this next generation come is how we want to turn our youth and kids from consuming to producing. And this is really one of the main issue we are working is. Because in our situation, in a country that we don't have a cinema culture, we don't have a cinema infrastructure, we don't have a cinema theater, so we grow up with the TV. And most of our kids sit in front of TV, and they receive the images from TV channels, depends if it's coming from Arab world or if it's coming even sometimes lately when satellite exists, it's coming from Europe. So each channel of the TV, they have their own agenda and they have their own, let's put it, a way how they want to put kids in which way. If it's a religion or conservative or even it's like normal, but when we did a small, let's put it like research or observing this kind of channels, we found that each channels have their own real agenda from where they want to take our youth and kids and to which positions. From there, it's come when as Charlotte explained about our 4 components. And the 4th component, which is a cinema culture, come under the program which called Next Generation. And how much important when we talk about the next generation, because and as you said, because there are the future of filmmaking, there are the future to be filmmakers, to be producers, and to be audience. And this is how much it's important to create or to revive cinema culture. So I want to share some slides. I will not really follow it, but just to see things during I'm talking. Sorry, let me check. Yeah. Yeah, whatever, it doesn't matter. So we can. Yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah, fine. Okay, thank you. Okay, so yeah, so the next generation coming from our under our 4th component, which called a cinema culture, and this program, I can say that it divided for a different let's say angles or ways. One of them is the workshop and the dialogue we open with kids and youth. So here we target 2 targeted group. First targeted group age from 6 till 10, another targeted group from 10 till 15. So first targeted group, we just screen for them films and we open dialogue with them how to read the image in a critical way, and in the same time, how to open their imagination. For example, if you are this character, what you want to tell. And from here, they begin open to tell their issue and their stories. And for the another targeted group, it will be the same screening, and in the same time to give them the knowledge how to film their own phones using iPad, iPhone, small cameras, from the way of they come with the idea till they put it by themselves online, and how this can happen. So the second, let's put it like, or the second line from this, that the whole year we try to screen film in different places, in villages, cities, refugee camps. So because that we have partnership with youth clubs, with community centers, with women's centers, where our team go there and screen films and open discussion. And more we begin to train people there, that in the time that we are not there, that the program itself can continue. And this is part of sustainability, that we give them the films and they can keep screening and keep telling. Beside all of that, we have a big sub-programming during our festival, Palestine Cinema Days. We have a program for family and kids, and this even screenings divided to two parts. First part, which is in the morning, where we bring all kids with buses from schools to attend a cultural center or cinema theater, when they have this experience sometimes for the first time, that they are in front of screen and it's dark and the film it's beginning, and for them this is for the first time that they try this feeling. And after the morning screening, in the afternoon we have a family screenings, when families can come with their kids and they can watch films and discuss it together with the trained young filmmakers. We try really to do, when we program, that we try to have a content that it's close to us, because when you want to discuss with kids, if things should come from their culture, from their identity, and due to the lack of content in Palestine on our region, so it's a real difficult that to find films that it can attract them, or talking about things that they are think about it. So plus for that we are doing a dubbing for a film, and we want to make sure that this film's dubbed to Arabic, that every kid can understand, and we put a sign language on it. So not only that we bring the film, so after we bring the film, there is like a process that dubbing plus the sign language to open our target, and to even bring kids from specialized schools to watch these films when they cannot, the deaf, they cannot watch it. So with the sign language, we open another track or another target from our audience. So as I said, due to this kind of lack from the content, we create a program which called Sunbird Stories. And Sunbird Stories, it's a program that divided for two things. First, it's a capacity building, where we choose participants from Palestine, and we open it now regional from the Arab world, that they can apply to this program. And there is the lab, like writing lab, develop scripts, writing lab, producing, directing. We invite guests as speakers, especially filmmakers who work with kids as actors, sound designers, soundtrack, and musicians, because it's something new that even the professionals like filmmakers or producers, they don't have this experience to produce for kids, and even to compose a film music or to design a soundtrack for kids. So we put the participants in a lab for like around 5 to 6 months. And then we partnered with Al Gouna Film Festival, which is in Egypt, because unfortunately we cannot invite the Arab participants to come to Palestine due to the political reasons. So we put all of them in Al Gouna Film Festival, and there the pitching session happened, and we choose one short film that we awarded in $20,000 to produce the short film that it will be ready to screen with the kids and to discuss it. So what we achieved from all of this, that we have more than 200 screening and dialogue sessions, and we reach around 5,000 children, even maybe more. We did around 42 filmmaking workshops. We produced around 46 short films that these films kids produced after the workshop or even after the talent summer camp, because we use the workshops as research. So if we found like a talented kids, youth, we have like evaluation, let's put it like form system, where our trainers can take notes. And in the summer, we have like 1 month and a half intensive workshop where we selected participants from our workshops. And these kids go to more intensive workshops, script writing, directing, sound, edit, etc., etc. So we produced around from both around 460 short film with 2,000 children. Till now, we train around 22 young trainers. To support all of this, and we don't only go to places, and especially for villages, refugee camps as visitors. So we create in some places like cine clubs, and this is one of our program to establish cine clubs. So we have till now 2 cine clubs, one in Jericho and one in Gaza, and we managed to open audiovisual center in Ramallah in collaboration with Ramallah municipality. And the partner with the municipality that they give us the space, and we equipped it with screening, with like small sound corner, and with mashup table where kids, and it's open daily and it's open to everybody. And this is really, we have this influence from the Danish Film Institute, from the Studio X, when first time I visited there, and I thought, wow, it's really important for kids even to spend their days playing football in the streets or going here and there or whatever. So there is a place where they can come and they can watch film, and they can be more creative, and they can produce, even they can come as groups. And when we launched it and we invited the schools and the teachers, they really we really convinced them that they want to bring their classes there and to work and to see, especially when they found it's like a new technical issue that it can give them the information, like the mashup table, when you can just play there and you can catch what's the editing mean, or how to tell the story. If you just change from scene to another scene, if you put scene A instead of scene B, or you put it the opposite, that it gives you another meaning, how you want to design sound, what's effects mean, mixing, etc., etc. So when you give all this information just from one table, it was a real something. So this is what we achieved till now, and I talked about Sunbird story, about the creating the content. I said about the talent campus. Yeah, and this is part of our screenings where we bring kids from schools sorry, to watch film. Our outreach, of course, as all of you mentioned, we are working on Palestine and East Jerusalem, West Bank, Gaza, and sometimes for the Palestinians who's living in the 48 territories. So we have partnership, as I mentioned when I answer your question, Mette, with the Palestinian Ministry of Education. We managed to begin talking with the teachers, and I believe that always teachers, they have the influence on the kids. So if we manage to convince the teacher and the teacher telling the kids what's the film mean and what's important and cinema culture, so they will grow up with this believing on it. We partnership with the UNRWA. The UNRWA is the organization who is responsible on the Palestinian refugee camps. So we try to enter the schools through them. We have 12 community organizations that they are work with us. So all of this really was before COVID, before Corona. And now when Corona put us all in our homes, the question was, okay, so what's now? So what we want to do? And all of this work and all of this partnership, which take years till we manage to make it. So what will happen? So the question or the decision come up, okay, and after that, when we heard everything online and we discovered Zoom, we discovered that, all of this live. So we thought, let's put next generation online. Let's keep working with the next generation online. So we managed to do a workshop with the oldest group, that the ones who should be in the talent campus. So we worked with them and we produced films or the program was Chronicle of Corona, where they tell us about their fears, all this question that it put on our kids during that time. So, sorry. So to create this platform, again, it's a crazy idea. And to be honest, we didn't aware what's this mean. So what's this mean that you want to fill these platforms in a content? And in the beginning, when we put, I think, around 3-4 films, we begin to receive messages from parents, even from kids, that, yeah, we finished these films. What's else? What's there? And we said, oops, okay, now we are facing another challenge that, in a way, we learn from during we are doing things. So then we continue with Waqtuna, and now Waqtuna means our time in Arabic. So usually in our childhood, most of the time when we want to watch films, our parents, it was all the time, most of the time, telling us it's not your time, because the TV full of news and the TV full of content which is not for the kids, not for the kids as a content. So when we come up with it's our time, so there is no reasons to tell us we shouldn't watch or we should make censorship, because this kind of films, it's like really well done, chosen, and there is a team behind it, and we watch a lot of films to take these films, and again, these films that we dubbed into Arabic, and we put sign language to them. So we have now 25 feature films there. We have 127 international short films, 25 short films made by Palestinian children and youth. And this is another, as I told you before, when we produce films, so we tell kids, if you're really well, it will be online. So your family, your parents, your students, your classmates, your teachers, they will watch it. So for them, it's a little bit like, challenge that, yeah, really, I want to make a good film. So besides that, we sometimes we bought the copyright for the making of for some film, even to keep with the youth to show them how they made these films. So to keep them in the atmosphere and to keep them in this kind of, yeah, how was the director, how was the editing, etc., etc. So because they learn it, so they keep, and here we begin to change a little bit of this even stereotype thoughts that most of the kids, they want to be doctors, engineers, lawyers, etc., etc. But now we begin here from our friends, which is the kids, we call them now friends or colleagues even sometimes, because for them they become filmmakers. They want to be a camera person, or they want to be a sound, or they want to be an editor. So, and as I said, most of this dubbed. So till November 2020, no, it's launched on November 2020. We have around 36,000 viewers on this platform, and it's only close to to Palestine. And now we are really thinking how we want to open it to region, because regionally in even other countries in our region, the Arab world, even for Arab who living in diaspora, we receive a lot of messages like why we're not allowed to watch it, because for them, even when they live in Europe or in US, they want something coming from their country. They want to give their kids the Arabic language, the identity, the culture, etc., etc. Yeah. So now we have around 4 short films between pre-production to post-production that we support them in $64,000. So yeah, this is how in a quick presentation about our next generation. Before, if we want, I don't know, I think still there is time, but if there is like questions or before the discussion, I would like to show you one film from the program Chronicle of Corona that produced by the Talent Campus kids. I hope there is sound.
بتاريخ 23
The sound seems to have cut off. I don't know if that's
yeah,
just for
there's
me.
no sound now. Did you turn off the sound, Hanna?
Sorry?
Did you turn the sound off? It was
No.
No? Okay. Perhaps in the interest of time, So we only have 10 minutes left. Maybe could our audience watch the film on their own screens, perhaps? I know we do have a question. So let's do that. That way we have 10 minutes for a conversation here at the end. Hanna, thank you so much. The achievement is just absolutely phenomenal. It really is just extraordinary. Very, very exciting to hear about all of the amazing work you've done. Robert Munro, would you like to come in?
Yes, thank you very much, Meta, and thank you very much to Hanna, Alia and Charlotte. It was really inspiring, and as Meta said, the amount that you've achieved is really quite incredible. Lots for us to learn here in Scotland as well. I know my colleague Jamie Chambers, who unfortunately got COVID last week, but he would have been really enthused to hear about everything that's going on as well. I wanted to ask a question about something that happens quite a lot in filmmaking projects in Scotland. You talked quite a lot about encouraging the young people to tell their own stories because the images they see from the UN or from Western media are complicated. But do you ever have any difficulties and kind of drawing those stories out of the young people? Because a lot of the times when we try to make films with young people, they want to make films about zombies and guns and superheroes, and that's fine, but it's hard to get them to see their own lives as dramatic, and I know the context is different in Palestine, but I wondered if you could talk a wee bit about that kind of story workshop process of getting them to find the stories in their own lives. I guess that's to all three of you. I don't know who would be best suited to have a go at that.
Hanna, would you like to begin with an answer, and then we'll go to Alia and Charlotte as well.
Sorry. Yeah, if I get your question, I think it's coming from the situation itself. So as Charlotte said in the beginning, when we begin working with the kids, all of them they want to be like in news reporters. They want to be like, because 90% from their time they see CNN reporter, or I don't know who's reporting, sitting there in front of checkpoint or the wall, or etc., telling news. So for them, they want to continue telling about the conflict and etc. But when you begin working a little bit with them, and when you see that, okay, of course you are living in this kind of situation, so if you don't talk about it, it's not mean that you are living in a normal situation, but you can tell just the daily story that you awake at 6 and you went to the school, and just tell me what you see from A till B. So of course there is a part that you cross the checkpoint, but in the same time you meet your friends and you say good morning to your neighbor, and I don't know what, and I don't know what, and I don't know what. So yeah, so this is part how we work with them. But of course sometimes there is sometimes kids who will become with a huge imagination and tale, and the one who want to be a Superman to fly over the wall, and I don't know what, So no, of course we have this and that, but the idea is that how to work with them and how to put them back to think more, and to give them examples, and to let them repeat the stories, So yeah, this is how I'm working with them. So I hope kind of I'm answering you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's very, very interesting.
Thank you, Hanna. Charlotte and Alia, would either of you like to come in on this same question, or do you have other thoughts you would like to share? We have about 5 minutes left.
Only one little comment, because I think Hanna explained well. There were not so many zombie stories though, but a lot of the other stories, conflict stories. But I think we have sometimes had the same issue with the producers and directors who want to create stories for children, that they are also often some of them at least, very conflict-based. So it's also a challenge to show opportunities, that there are so many ways to make films for young audiences that can maybe touch upon the conflict, but also relate to other parts of life. So I think, but it's a big, we can't do that in 2 minutes, but I think it's also shown there. Alia?
Yes. Okay. Yes, that's. I just wanted to say, to add also to it, comes back to what I started, where I started from when we talked about trying to get out of the stereotypes. And I think one part of what Hanna just explained so well, and when they're working directly with the kids in the filmmaking process, we should not forget that, you know, it's always part of a longer process. So we are not just throwing kids and making something, but there is the first engagement with opening up at all the whole idea of what the image tells you. So to trying to reflect about what are the images we just consume perhaps without, and you know, which are influencing us without we are realizing it, and then to distance yourself again from what you perceive and to think about, okay, what I see now, how do I, me, myself, when I walk through the world, see actually my surroundings. So this is something which starts already before they go into the filmmaking process. And I think, again, the story of little steps and really to have a chain of development is really important to pick them up.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your answers. That was terrific.
Okay, wonderful. All right, I think that we've come to the end of this session. It's been such a pleasure to be here with everyone. Like Charlotte, I would also like to thank, you know, Jamie Chambers and Pascal and Robert and everybody associated with the conference and with the journal. All of them fellow travelers, and I think we are already connected and we stay connected. To our attendees, unfortunately, I can't see who you are, but thank you so much for joining us today, and hopefully we will meet face to face at some point in the not too distant future. And I guess finally, I'd just like to say, you know, continued good luck and good wins to Filmlab Palestine. I think, you know, we talk about you a lot, we write about you as much as we possibly can, because you really are, you're an incredible inspiration, and yeah, long may you continue. Yeah, so I think we stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mette.
Thank you a lot.
And one quick last thing, we do have another panel at 4 o'clock if you'd like to join that, called Filmmaking in the Classroom. But thank you very much, Mette, and the panelists today. That was terrific.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Ciao.